Hello. So, I thought I was going to talk to you about a suggestion by one of my, there has been a little bit of a discussion about the IT world, and the discussion has basically been about accountability for product support or product quality. And in essence, this was a hot topic in the UN, or like the United Nations, and in essence the suggestion was that, or rather the problem that they were trying to address was that when it comes to supporting like software and like delivering software, bugs and failures that cause like massive revenue loss or critical failures within different organizations, the software developers or the IT companies need to be held accountable for the loss in revenue or the damage that these issues cause. And the idea basically boils down to the same type of concept you see when what you expect from like buying a vacuum cleaner or a car or anything like that. If the manufacturer has produced a product that is faulty in some way, and that fault, the fallacy within the product creates a cost to you or to your organization. Let's just let these guys pass. Noisy Gothenburg, great. But anyway, the idea being that if you have a loss in revenue, or your company or like the government or whoever, like one of the bugs basically, like if your product is not working as expected, you have a right to be reimbursed for the damage that this product is causing. And when you think about that, I mean, that does sound like a reasonable idea, doesn't it? Like, I would expect that if I have a phone, for example, and all of a sudden it stops working, then by law I should, like, as long as I haven't done anything weird with it, at least here in Sweden, I should be able to at least get my phone fixed at the cost of the manufacturer, or get a new phone, once again, at the cost of the manufacturer. So, on paper, this idea, at least for people who are not in IT, sounds very reasonable. Now, what I will argue is that, and trust me, this has very little to do with, like, it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a software developer, because like the idea is not that I personally will reimburse you unless it's my company, but rather a company would have, let's say Google. If Google goes down for let's say that their website goes down for any reason, then, you know, in theory they should have to pay the companies who depend on their service money, basically, because they went down. Now, the reason why I think this is most likely the dumbest idea that has ever come out of the political world, and trust me, they have a lot of stupid ideas, but this is by far the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The reason why I think this is so stupid is because it will in essence put a throttle on all IT development in the world. It will completely kill off any type of chance that the smaller companies have, and it will completely put like the biggest blocker on all innovation that you could possibly think of. The reason why this will happen is because the fact of the matter is that we humans have nothing. We have nothing that is so complicated in our daily lives. Programming and software development, and especially at the large scale system, is by far the most complicated thing that you can do. There is nothing that even can compare to it in the regular marketplace. So what I'm saying is that it's like trying to control innovation itself. It is like trying to put an insurance policy on innovation. It is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because just think about it. If you create, let's say, a vacuum cleaner, because I argue that this thought is coming from the perspective that, hey, if we have these rules that apply to cars and brooms and whatever, like regular products, why is the software industry so special? Why don't they? Why can't we tax them for all this stuff? And the problem is that it's inherently in the way that the product is how products are designed. Now, if you think about it, if you build a car, if Volkswagen or Volvo or whoever, if they build a car, they have to, if you think about it, they really only have to merge certain regulation and requirements set forth by the governments, where they want to sell their car. They have hard tests. And if you once again think about it, if you as the user or consumer of that car put the car through stress tests that it's not designed to solve and it fails, well, they can simply say, oh, you were using it in a way we didn't intend it to be used in that way. And they can blame it on that. So it's not like these products are perfect in any way. They simply meet specific requirements. And if you think about the product itself, if I build you a car, I will make sure that one car pass all these tests so that I'm allowed to sell it in the marketplace. And what then will happen is that I can, when I want to sell another car, I will simply build another car. I will create a new car and go through the same process. That's not how software development works. Imagine if Volkswagen had to, whenever they wanted to make a new, make an update or create something new in a car, they would simply have a single car, and then they would basically ask you for their car, all the cars to be brought back to them, so that they could update the cars as they are, because that's usually how software development works. You start off with a small product and then you add to it depending on the feature requirements, because more and more people want different features. You keep on adding stuff on, and then things get more and more complicated and the system does more and more. And that's usually where bugs start to crawl into the system. It's very easy to keep a small system bug-free. It's very, very difficult to keep a large system bug-free. It's actually said, and I believe this, that I can't remember who said it now, but in essence the thought is, or rather the statement is, that no non-trivial system in the world is completely bug-free. And because it is all but impossible, it is all but impossible for the software developers and the programmers in the world to foresee every single thing that could possibly go wrong with the system and cause a critical failure. Then, as you can imagine, if we were to have to pay for every time that happens, only a very small amount of people would have the type of money it would require to build something that is of a little bit of a scale. Because if it's almost to the point where it's even more ludicrous than what the banks get, where they have to have like 10% of their outstanding loans in actual revenue within the bank. It's even worse, because if you think about it, if you create an application, let's say you create a phone app and you're just a single person, and all of a sudden you now have to know how much money you have in the bank all the time versus how many users you have. Because if you don't, it might be the case that your app makes it really big, gets really popular, starts out by being popularized with maybe 1,000 users, and then 1 million users, and so forth and so forth. Then you have to make sure that you can pay them if they start suing your ass because their app didn't, I don't know, if it's, let's say that you have some type of GPS app and all of a sudden people start getting lost, and all of a sudden they can come and sue you because you're not able to, your app is misbehaving in a way that is costing them money. Now, the thought, I think, is sound. I think that the idea behind this is a sound idea, that, you know, what you really want to express, I think, is that you need to have some type of accountability towards the software industry, because you don't want the software industry to take unnecessary risks. This is the same idea I have about developers who pick a technology more because of what they want to work with rather than what's right for the project. Like, they go with an emotional thing, like they pick a obscure language or a specific front-end is notorious for this. Like, you'll migrate an entire application from Angular to React just because you like React more, even though they do the same thing virtually. And I think that's a good mindset to have, that software development is for the end consumer. It's not about you who are making the software. But I don't think that finding innovators and IT people in this way will work, because inherently the products are so vastly different. I mean, you wouldn't, like, I think that there has to be another way to achieve this. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever to have a system where you punish people for trying to innovate, because all it's going to do, it's as I said, it's going to kill any opportunity people have to bring innovation to the table. I think that we as a species, or rather like the IT world and everybody who is enjoying the fruits of the IT world's labor, has to accept that this is very much so, even though it's come pretty far. This is experimental stuff for the most part. That it is not set in stone. This is not like building a house. This is not like building a vacuum cleaner. This is stuff that is continuously experimental. And if you want to be like there are companies who are specializing in stability and support and all that stuff, which is great. But just think about this. I'll just give you a small taste of this. I think it's a year ago now, something like that, Google's search engine site went down for 400 milliseconds, 0.4 seconds. And when that happened, roughly 40% of the world's internet traffic stopped. Now imagine if they had to pay whoever is losing money on, this is an extreme case, but imagine if they had to pay for that. So Google is hands down the most stable, the world's most stable website. Like their platform is like they are the pinnacle of the IT world. And if they can't guarantee 100% uptime, as you can probably imagine, it's in theory not possible, or rather in practice not possible. It's the same thing with NASA. I read that, I'm not sure if this is true, but I read that NASA roughly, like the computer system they build for the ISS and the Mars rover and so forth, that code costs roughly $5,000 per line of code. That's how much they test it. That's how vigorously they try to create perfection, because it is perfection. It is an attempt to create perfection. And they still can't get these systems bug-free. They still have a way of patching them. So to you like little uninformed, in my opinion, uninformed politicians, maybe you should have a look at what it actually means to create IT products before you go suggesting things like this. Because honestly, I will go as far as to say I think that the benefits that the IT world brings to the table outweigh the risk of this. And if you want to talk to me about risk and accountability, let's talk about the stock market or the banking industry. I mean, the damage that these organizations do to people on a daily basis it's leaps and bounds much more worse than anything the IT world has ever done. And I will argue, I will make a claim and say that, you know, at least the IT world is giving you something as for the risk that you're taking. And frankly, if you feel uncomfortable with using a certain product because it feels unstable, then don't use it. But don't punish innovation just so that, I don't know, don't punish innovation, because we need it bad.